All right, so today we're diving into all things Elon Musk.
Hmm.
You guys have sent over just a massive amount of his quotes about ambition, risk, really anything about building the future.
Yeah.
We're talking SpaceX, Tesla, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's quite the collection.
yeah, what are we even doing with all of this? Like how,
Right. Where do we even begin?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to extract some of that pure gold,
Yeah.
those actionable insights that you can actually use in your life.
And I think what's really fascinating here is this isn't just someone who wants to like build a successful business, you know?
Right.
It seems like there's this deeper drive to just push the boundaries of what's possible.
Totally.
Yep.
And that really colors his whole approach.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And one of the quotes that really jumped out at me when I was going through all of this was, if things are not failing, you are not innovating enough.
I think that's Elon Musk in a nutshell.
Yeah.
He doesn't really see failure as the opposite of success. He sees it as just part of the process. Like if you're not pushing your limits, you're not really innovating.
It's like that saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take,
Yeah.
but like on a much grander scale.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's not talking about like, trying a new coffee shop.
Right.
He's talking about launching rockets.
Right.
And like literal rockets.
Yeah.
Like think about SpaceX's early attempts at landing those rockets. It was a bumpy ride, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
But they kept iterating. They learned from every attempt. And ultimately, they revolutionized space travel because of it.
Which makes me think about all the times I gave up on something after one try.
Right.
Maybe I need a little bit more Elon in my life. Although he takes the persistence thing to like a whole other level.
He does.
This is a direct quote. Work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in 80 to 100-hour weeks every week.
Yeah.
That's intense.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that, like, obviously that level of commitment is not healthy or sustainable for everyone. Even he has said being an entrepreneur is like eating glass and staring into the abyss of death.
Oh, my gosh.
So, like, passion, hard work, essential, but not at the cost of your well-being.
Right.
It's finding that balance.
It's like finding that sweet spot between burning out and barely getting started,
Yes,
which I think a lot of us struggle with.
absolutely.
And speaking of not easy, let's talk about leadership, because there are some quotes in here that I think paint a very clear picture of what Musk values
For sure.
in a leader
Yeah,
and in general.
absolutely. And I think a lot of it comes down to this prioritization of the product
Okay.
and empowering the people who are actually building it.
Okay.
The path to the CEO's office should not be through the CFO's office. It needs to be through engineering and design.
I love that.
Yeah,
So it's less about the bottom line and more about building something that you're passionate about, something that's groundbreaking.
exactly. And this like directly translates into how he leads people work better when they know what the goal is and why. It's about creating that shared vision, that sense of purpose that goes beyond just clocking in and out.
I'm remembering that anecdote about his early investment,
Oh, yeah.
where he poured millions of dollars into SpaceX, Tesla's Solar City
Right.
ventures that everyone considered incredibly risky at the time.
Yeah,
He put his money where his mouth is, big time.
he did. It speaks to his just unwavering belief in the power of innovation and the importance of taking risks.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to go against conventional wisdom. And I think that's a big part of what draws people to him. They
Right.
want to be part of something revolutionary.
Totally. Yeah. It's inspiring for sure.
Yeah.
But it also makes you wonder, like, what is going on in that brain of his?
Right.
Like, how does he actually approach learning and problem solving?
Yeah.
Because you don't become Elon Musk by accident.
No, you don't. There's definitely a method to the madness. And I think one of his key insights that we see kind of come up again and again in these quotes is this idea that it is important to view knowledge as sort of a semantic tree. Make sure you understand the fundamental principles before you get into the leaves details or there is nothing for them to hang on to.
Semantic tree. Okay, that's a little academic for me.
Yeah.
Can you break that down? Like, what's the takeaway here?
Yeah. So imagine like an actual tree, right? The trunk and the main branches. Those are the core principles of any subject.
Right.
The leaves, those are the details.
Okay.
Musk is basically saying, if you don't have a strong understanding of those fundamental principles, those details aren't going to stick.
They just float away.
They fall away.
Okay.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like you're trying to build a house, but you're starting with like the furniture instead of the foundation.
That just doesn't work.
It just doesn't work. You need that strong base.
And this is where that whole first principles thinking comes in,
Yes.
which we hear about a lot.
Yeah, he's a huge advocate for this approach.
But for those of us who don't know what that means, because it is kind of a buzzword,
Yeah.
what are we really talking about?
So first principles thinking is really about breaking things down to their most basic truths,
Okay.
questioning assumptions, and then building up from there.
So not accepting things at face value, you're really digging deeper.
Exactly. You're asking why until you get to the root of the issue.
I like it.
Yeah.
So how has he actually used this in his work, though?
Oh, tons of examples.
Yeah.
So think about Tesla.
Okay.
When they were first starting out, the cost of electric car batteries was astronomical,
Yeah.
like insanely expensive.
Yeah.
And instead of just being like, well, that's just how it is,
Right.
Musk applied this first principles thinking. He's like, okay, let's break down the cost of a battery. What is it actually made of?
Yeah.
Like the lithium, the nickel, all these things.
Right.
And by sourcing those raw materials directly and then innovating on the manufacturing process, they were able to drastically reduce the cost.
Mm-hmm. And boom, they changed the electric car industry.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
And it makes you think, how often do we just accept the way things are
Totally.
instead of questioning those assumptions? Like,
Yeah.
it should cost this much because it's always cost this much.
Right.
But he's like, well, why? Why does it have to be that way?
It's like having X-ray vision for problems.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
But even with that, I mean, this guy's brilliant, clearly.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have all the answers.
Oh, of course not. And he would be the first to admit that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's such a huge proponent of, not just surrounding himself with smart people,
Yeah.
but also actively soliciting feedback.
Even negative feedback.
Especially negative feedback. He's
Yeah.
like, really pay attention to negative feedback and solicit it particularly from friends.
Ooh, now you're talking about my least favorite thing.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to hear negative feedback,
Right.
but he sees it as such an essential tool for growth
Okay.
because we all have blind spots. We all have areas where we can improve, and sometimes we need that outside perspective to help us see them.
It's like he's building these incredible machines, but the team is the most important machine.
It really is. It's fascinating how it always comes back to that human element. It
Yeah.
speaks to this bigger idea of success rarely being like a solo thing.
Right.
It's this collective effort, the shared journey, the synergy.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to this idea of the winning formula.
Right.
Because we've been diving deep into that.
We have.
Like, what is Elon Musk's winning formula for success?
Right.
It's complex, it's demanding, but man, is it inspiring.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like this powerful reminder that those limitations that we put on ourselves are often just in our own minds.
Right.
Like with enough passion and grit and willingness to kind of challenge the status quo,
Yeah.
we can achieve some pretty remarkable things.
It's true. And I think this whole deep dive has me thinking that it's not about like copying his blueprint exactly. It's about taking those principles and ideas that resonate and finding ways to apply them to our own lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether we're building a company or tackling a creative project or just trying to, level up our everyday experience.
Totally. Yeah, it's about those little nuggets, those insights, and then being like, okay, how do I take that and use it in my own unique way?
So we've got to wrap up this deep dive here, but I keep coming back to this one quote that I think really sums it all up.
Okay.
Life needs to be more than just solving problems every day. You need to wake up and be excited about the future.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
It's so good.
It's like a call to action,
Yeah.
to approach our life, our work, our world with that sense of possibility.
Yeah, that optimism, that curiosity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to all of you deep divers out there, find what excites you, embrace the challenge, and never stop learning.
Did you hear?
Until next time, keep on diving deep.